and they plan to bring the soldier with them using a coming storm for cover. So Rambo warns the Soviet about the beheading again, reminding him, and they dismount and choose directions, and Musa greases them in lamp ash, this is a really cool scene. They put like lamp ash all over them so they can't be seen, and Rambo's wearing all these like Lawrence of Arabia clothes, and they have like leopard oil to mask the scent that they rub into themselves to avoid problems with the guard dogs. And Rambo he is decked head to toe in black, like Arabic chic type clothing. So Rambo packs his bow and arrow with a grappling hook and sets out using the storm as cover. So Andreev leads them to the base, leaving the 5 horsemen behind, ordering them to leave after an hour should they not return. They use blankets to scale the barbed wire fences. Andreev shows Rambo where the tank, choppers, and vehicles are. Rambo leads them through the minefield, showing them how to do it to get through the minefield. And Andreev is also leading them, like they have like a system set up, how they can tell where the mines are. So Andreev also leads them through that. All to the base, past more barbed wire. During this, Rambo is wondering if he's going to have to kill Andreev. At one point, he gets ready to, but freezes, like he pauses when Andreev kills a guard, kills one of his friends. And there's an Allah was willing over you tonight joke in there as well. And Rambo uses the grappling hook to scale the parapet. Meanwhile, inside, Zyson asks Troutman to talk one last time and is denied. And this was crazy. So Zyson brings in a 13-year-old Arab boy, Pakistani boy, and tortures the 13-year-old boy by pouring acid all over his chest. And Troutman is forced into being the audience to this. So Rambo reaches the top and booby traps the sentry with his knapsack bombs, assembles the bow and arrow for, mute contact, no sound. Headshot kills a guard on the stairs while catching the enemy's gun from alerting others by falling down the stairs. And Azov, then we have a shot where Azov shows up while this boy is being tortured. And they torture the small child even more. And Azov has some words with Zyson, which ends with Zyson deciding to transfer Azov. And we cut back to Rambo hiding the dead guy's body. Then Andreev in uniform leads Rambo through the interior of the base. So they begin to make these, they begin to mine trap the vehicles and the fuel tanks and all the different vehicles. And Rambo's putting explosive mines on them. 2 guards come across Andreev, so Andreev kills one as Rambo kills the other after a small talk, distractions between Andreev and the guards. And Andreev takes out more guards as Rambo finishes placing the traps, eventually placing the last one in the generator room. Then Andreev fakes out a guard as Rambo arrows another guard, bow and arrows him directly in the face. So now the little boy ends up dying from the slow, graphic, sickly acid torture. Rambo from a distance picks up on Troutman's location, and Rambo moves in and uses his tear gas. He takes out those tear gas arrow tips. He uses these twice to take out more guards and extract Troutman. He actually knocks Zyson out with the tear gas and Kurov. So he extracts Troutman from the cell. As they escape, Rambo unlocks other POWs, and Troutman Troutman's in really, really bad shape and is frightened by Andreev. And there's a funny, he's gonna kill us kind of moment between Rambo and Troutman. I really like that for the remainder of this story. Troutman's health disintegrates radically. And Rambo takes out a guard with his famous knife flip and throw, which he does a bunch here. You know Sly stole that for this movie. Together they race along the detonators back the way they came. They become spotted and under attack, and Rambo strikes back with the launcher mechanism on his M203. The planted charges begin to go off, and Rambo drags Troutman through the churning wreckage around them back into the storm, taking out bad guys with the launcher along the way. Andreev is hit with shrapnel through his chest, then shot to death. He doesn't die right away, but he dies a little bit later when they get to the edge or get down. And during the carnage outside, Azov decides he's going to resign. He watches Rambo fascinated. He's like watching them escape out the window. He's got his gun drawn, and he could kill him, but he stops. He's like, and before his room gets blown apart, Azov, he could have likely killed Rambo, but he lets him escape. And now we're seeing foreshadows of the great turning against, Zeissen, started by Andreev here, in my opinion anyway. And he literally, like Azov, stands back while telling Zeissen in his mind to go fuck himself. He's pretty much saying, I'm done, I'm over with this. And then his fucking room gets blown apart and gets knocked down. So periodically shouting, Rambo ties up Troutman for the descent down to the ground over the side of the parapet. He burns his hands really badly on the ropes. He gets like really bad rope burn, sliding Troutman all the way down. It's pretty much dead weight, right? In the process. He one-handed tosses a grenade as he's got the other hand on the rope. After a bullet nicks his arm, he tosses a grenade at the bad guys. And then with no guide back through the mines, Rambo uses the grenade launcher to detonate a path straight through, somewhat using the storm for cover so they get to the bottom and take off. I think I'm getting a cold. It's not good. So Zeissen comes to and surveys, the carnage that's going around, and coming to from the tear gas, and surprised rather by the devastation, joins up with Azov, giving him orders, tells Kurov to gather a status report, and Azov fills in Zeissen on what's going on, and Zeissen lies and makes a cover story for his report to his superiors, and orders a head seek and destroy mission using reverse tactics to leave immediately within the hour, similar to what Teasel did in 1972's First Blood by David Morrell. To get Orville out there and to get on the move without state police turning him down. So alongside Musa, Rambo carrying Troutman looks for the hollow passage to the Horseman, and Troutman has been shot in the shoulder now, and Rambo devises like a tourniquet on the spot, fearing he will die, falls down, finds the hollow. They meet up with the Horseman and they begin their escape. So tanks and carriers and men are ready, and Zeissen leads them off into the storm. And Kurov, Zeissen, and Azov travel by an armored carrier. Zeissen reveals that what his motivations to Azov are. And he is planning to torture Rambo the worst with his skin hanging on the wall. And doesn't that sound familiar? Meanwhile, Rambo keeps on having to slap Troutman awake and tends to his tourniquet to stay awake. And Troutman does to stay awake, Troutman does the Pledge of Allegiance. They joke together and they do the Star Spangled Banner together. There's another joke too, where he's like, "How about when Johnny comes marching home?" With a "Don't piss me off" remark by Rambo. That was pretty funny. I love that part. And we learn more about Kurov and who can't get higher than Sergeant, and he hates both Azov and Zyson, especially now for killing the child. And he thinks about how Zyson would do under pressure, and Zyson will never promote him. And anyway, Rambo reaches the camp, and the leftovers are packing up, and Michelle ends up doing surgery on Troutman. Rambo goes to meet the chieftains in a semicircle, and realizes their sacrifices for him as well, and begins to pray himself, finally in Catholic, Navajo, and Buddhist Muslim, for Troutman's life to be saved. And it gets very emotional at this point with the Mujahideen, and the Mujahideen become rather stubborn and plan to leave, bidding, inshallah, go with God, before they're going to split up. So Rambo, meets up with Michelle in the cave, who is still tending to Troutman, and Rambo selfishly goes through a blood transfusion for Samuel, knowing they are both A positive, and this, which this weakens Rambo a lot. So it kind of pins him as the underdog once again, So Rambo begins his recuperation under orders of Michelle. He eats a peach, a bowl of rice, fleckled with bits of grizzly meat, washes it down with a canteen of water. Michelle is disgusted by John's greasy, bloody, sandy appearance, and she makes him change his clothes, and Rambo and her share a good laugh as they discuss various outcomes. And they are interrupted by over 20 gunships approaching in the distance. And everyone's splitting up now, and the gunships are firing at everything in the foothills below. Akram asks Rambo to go with him, but Rambo refuses, tries to get Michelle to follow them after they leave. He tries to send her off with them, but she's not having it. So Rambo uses his knife very quickly to chop down multiple 2-inch thick saplings and makes a makeshift gurney of sorts. So Musa helping him, he then ties on a new headband, because it's hard to see with all that sweat in his eyes because it's very hot. He attaches a gurney poles to the horse saddle, ties it all up together. Rambo and Michelle tie Troutman to the horse contraption, and follows in rear. Rambo follows in rear, holding up the other side of the gurney. And there's sinews popping. They attempt an escape. They head for Pakistan. An extremely paranoid sneak escape scene. This is very nerve-wracking. A trap Rambo fears. And they reach the snowy peaks into the, I would say, one of the highest regions. I'm saying, I would think this is back somewhere near Peshawar. So Zyson gains on them, and pleased with his strides, Azov and Zyson and Kurov discuss the oil of Iran. And isn't that the same with any, with all that up until even these days? They also discuss carrying the chopper 1/3 at a time. All the choppers 1/3 at a time going through. And, that's why I've always been under the impression that this movie, or this book for this movie, kind of tells the foreshadow of really the starting of World War III. If you really think about it on another level. But we'll be getting into that next week, I believe, so I won't get into that now.